Hello, and welcome to Anything Relevant. And today I want to talk about Canada. It's post-election. The results are the results. Now, with that being said, there's things I want to say about that. This election definitely showed that these are where all the headquarters for all the parties are. These are home bases. If you look at the map of Canada and you divide it by where the parties won, you will see areas that are not being represented and being left to lag behind. So that's why those parties win them. Then you get the areas that basically fund the country. That's where other parties reside, and that's who they want to represent. And then you got the civil centers of Canada, and you got another party that represents that. And then you got newcomers. But the divide, in my point, it shows where they'll always win. All these areas, in my opinion, it's most likely going to fall out that way every time if we're just going to vote for our region only. So that's what happened. A lot of strategic voting, a lot of fearful voting, a lot of angry voting, a lot of tired of how it is voting, and no one's wrong in that. This, in my opinion, we got exactly what we there was. This was the outcome. Any other outcome would have been surprising, but I believe that these areas will be the kind of power centers of where these political parties have their most traction. And with that being said, we got to remember that in minority governments, we actually get a lot of practical, standard things done, and that's good because we, as a not a coalition, the exact opposite. When we have a minority government, there's a fear of getting nothing done. So we want to make sure that the garbage is going to be picked up, and the roads are going to be built, the schools are going to be paid. We're going to do the best we can with all of that, and it's just big ticket items per party that are going to be hard, and they're going to focus on that as the whole. And that's the distraction, that's the spin. So just if you use the past as an example of minority governments, there's going to be items that weren't never going to go through with minority government, but there's a lot of the stuff that's overlooked that we got to pay attention to, in the sense that it's not a bad thing. It just shows that the biggest parties have left behind the other regions. And that's what happened here, is that we got change happening, and with change causes pain. With pain is discomfort is stress. And that's what we have, and we have it in every corner of Canada. And the political parties that represent those areas did not get the vote of the whole. Not in the sense of a majority. So what do we have to learn from that? I think what we have to learn is what's not being represented, and can we do simultaneous things. I think as Canadians, we're not simple people, that we're complicated people, that there's nuances to us, and it's not only about money, or it's not only about religion, or it's not only about civil social rights. It's not only about, you know what I mean? It's got to be more than just one topic that represents a Canadian, and I do believe that that's what it is. So I do believe that my fellow Canadians are as complicated as I am, and they vote in many different layers in mind. So with that being said, with this outcome, I think that this should be a learning opportunity than a proving the point of getting nothing done. I think that'll start a new trend that doesn't need to happen. We don't need to sit on our hands because someone didn't get a majority. We're beyond that. We're stronger, more educated when you're talking in the scope of the world for that type of thinking, that type of feeling. We should just take this as the lesson that it is, that people at the top forgot about the bottom, and we'll get elections like this when that happens. and that it's not one issue. This was a death on all fronts by 1,000 cuts. And this shouldn't be something that divides us, but brings us together. Looking at that map and seeing that diversity should be the only first thought is, oh, we just got to come together. Look how divided we are. And if we just intensify that divide, then we're gonna Quebec want to break off for real. We're gonna have a couple of the middle provinces want to break off for real. It's nonsense. This is just nonsense. Like, we're not too big of a nation. We're just really big in land. We're not big in people. Come on, like Nigeria is half the size of a province, and it's like 4 or 5 times our population. Like, let's keep things in perspective here. We're not divided. We're not simple. We don't lie on one principle. We lie on many principles. We're very complicated, reasonable, courteous, compassionate people. Let's just remember that this is not a punishment, but just a learned opportunity. We can turn this frown upside down, make something of this 4 years, and know that we're going to head into a new 4 years after this term with a lot of insights that we didn't have before. And we also got to understand that no other generation has gotten to vote in the political system like we just did. Even the election before and the one before that, we didn't have the sophistication of understanding of the political system like we do now. News is at its most popular it's ever been. It's in to watch the news. And the news is educating you. They're educating you on how the world works through business, through society, through the social media element, through sports, through war, through politics. They teach you every day how the world works. Even when they're not covering the story right, and they got to go back and talk about it again with new breaking information. Point being is that you have more in your head about how this world works now than anyone in time has ever had on how the rest of the world works. Your education is so sophisticated to the information that you consume around you that the next election, we're going to be further on track. We're going to understand what it is that we want to fight for. I guess I'm very hopeful, optimistic. I hear the noise, the negative noise, but I also see where the momentum's going. And the noise does not mirror the momentum. And when I say noise, I mean noise from any extreme direction. The extreme quote-unquote left, the extreme right, the extreme centrists. I don't know if those are a thing yet. They probably will be sometime down the road. Point being, though, is that these minorities that are so loud has gotten the majority of us talking about it. And that's fine. I'm completely on board with talking about it. And I think through talking about it, you further chew on the topic, and it becomes less scary, less frightening, more of a nuisance, if it is a nuisance problem. Some of these problems are real problems, and we know it. We know it by just talking about them. We'll know it. So with that being said, it's not downhill from here. It's not. I don't see that. It does not track with what's going on. There's just a lot of spin that within weeks, months, will be clarified, and we'll be moving on. So I want you to, if you're here and watch this, I want to thank you. I know political videos are not the most popular, but I just feel like I need to do them every now and again. And I just want everyone to not look at their neighbor because they put up a different colored political sign this season and see too much segregation, I guess is the word I'm looking for, and not see that, but and see that there is diversity, and diversity isn't wrong. It's not a dirty word. It's a good word. It's an enriching word. There's a lot of merit that can come out of it, and Canada is a place of merit. So let's just remember all that. I want to thank you for dropping by. Have a good day.